0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
Real good.
Why it stopped me?
Volume's on.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Coach Steve Smith Show, Westbrook Christian Football. Now it's all things Steve Smith, all things Westbrook. J.W. White, what's up, man?
It's all things Steve Smith?
That's it.
Boy, we can go down some roads here. Miss Steve Smith, let me get some questions.
Yeah.
When we do the Steve Smith Show, we need to get questions.
We may want to hold off on that.
That could be after hours. That could be the real
Steve said in my contract. All right, we're good. Steve said in his contract that he's going to have to approve the questions.
Oh,
yeah, before the show, he's got to have approval.
Okay.
Coach, improved in the season as far as the record. I think you guys got better.
Right.
I think you had some tough breaks. And I know your expectations for your football team that you've ever coached has been extremely high.
Yeah.
And I think that you would probably say you didn't reach your full potential with these kids this year.
The Coach Steve Smith Show. Oh, gosh. Sorry. See, we're good.
We forgot to check all these before you got here. No one's
Twilight Zone here,
no one's tougher on your
You're a
team
stereo,
than you, and no one has the
Oh, my gosh.
highest expectations than you.
I don't know. It's a malfunction. You sound good, though.
Thank you. It's the speaking to the right side of the microphone helps.
I got a big boy mic this.
You
this
do.
week
Look at you.
Instead of the earmuffs.
You can really tell the bass in your voice.
Yeah.
You got that
That's good
bass.
stuff.
Yeah.
You look a little bit more relaxed.
Disappointed, that's just the way it works. Every team's goal when you start the season in Alabama high school football is to be in the playoff tournament at the end.
Fair.
And, extremely proud of our guys. I feel like we made great strides. Our kids played hard all year long, and at the end of the day, we came up a little bit short, and got nobody to blame for that but ourselves. You got to take that personal accountability and responsibility into the play, and we had opportunities to win some games that we just didn't get it done. And from a coach's standpoint, obviously you beat yourself up over that, and our guys gave it everything they had. They played hard, and just feel like we could have done some things better as coaches, myself in particular, to be able to put them in positions to win those games. A couple of them that we lost there down the stretch by 3 points were to teams that wound up affecting the playoffs. And each week we talked about in this show how this region was tough, top to bottom, each and every week. You just didn't know, and who would have ever thought when the season started you'd have Piedmont at the top, Locust Fork at second, and then 5 teams tied at 4-4 for third place. It's just a crazy way that things shook out, but congratulations to the people that did get in.
Sure.
Very proud for them, and we just got to go back to the drawing boards and do a better job next year taking care of business.
3 losses by total of 10 points.
Yeah.
You take the Piedmont game out,
right.
Everything else was winnable.
Well, they were. We just again, when they're close games like that falls back on the coach, in my opinion. If you in a close game like that, as a coach, you go back and try to find things that you could have done differently, done better, to give your kids a better chance to win, because it certainly wasn't the fault of our kids. Our kids played hard. They did everything that they were asked to do, and just from my own self-evaluation, I need to do a better job of getting us over the hump.
Well, I don't know what hump you could have got over in the Locust Fork game. That was you talk Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
That was one for the record books.
It was definitely a memorable night.
Yeah. The weather, the delays, the lightning, the onside kicks, and
well, don't forget to give credit to the players. Locust Fork's got a really good team. Coach Adams, the jobs they've done up there.
No question.
We got them at a time when it was a fully healthy Dino, and he was a dynamic player, probably as good as anybody in the state in Class 3A. And
put him up against some of the kids that you've coached against over your lifetime.
Yeah.
Kid's good.
Well, no doubt, and that's the thing that bothers me a lot about high school football is we tend to evaluate people based on their college and even professional success. Had the opportunity over the years coaching against Kerryon Johnson, SEC Player of the Year at Masson Academy. A draft pick that played and started for the Detroit Lions. Several other people. Ryan Smith comes to mind that played for Cordova. We played in the 2009 championship game. That played at Auburn. Played with the Cowboys. Trey Smith, who's currently in the NFL from Sachs. Just some dynamic talent that people, when you ask coaches, who did you play against that really made a difference? Deontay Lawson. We played them in 2019 when he was a junior at Mobile Christian.
Dude's a stud.
And he's going to be probably a first-round draft pick and an All-American this year at Alabama. So we played against people that have the name recognition because of how their careers went on. But, man, there's something about just playing against a dog. It's just a high school football stud.
Yeah.
And, the way that Dino was able to take over a game and just carry his team. And that's no disrespect to the rest of the guys at Logansport because they got more guys too. But he was just a difference maker in every aspect, whether it's 20 tackles on defense, 400 yards rushing. He's the punter, a return man on the kickoff team. You got Riley Pinto over at Piedmont that's just a dynamic player in whatever role that he plays. Guys that may not play at the major college Division I level or in the NFL one day, but people that just take over a high school game. We had several people along the time when I was at Piedmont that had that same ability. I coached a kid at Cedar Bluff named Tyrone Moore. 1997 was his senior year. Tyrone Moore was as good of a high school football player as I've ever coached. But at 5'7", 180 pounds, he didn't play at a major Division I college and all that. But I just, as a high school football coach, and you've heard me talk about this before with the ambition that a lot of people have, high school football to me in its purest form is about high school football players loving to play for the guy beside them and doing everything they can to help their team win.
Yeah.
And, man, there's nothing more than I respect as a player than a kid that will lay it on the line for their team, and do anything that's asked of them for the team to win. They're not worried about what their college prospects are. They're not worried about if they're playing the position that some college coach or recruiter tells them they ought to be playing. They just say, hey, Coach, I'm coming to work every day bringing my lunchbox. You tell me what I got to do to help the team win. And, just my one experience with Dino, he's right up there at the top with the people that I've coached against.
Have you heard what prognosis as far as his time back and any of that?
I need to do a better job of following up. I did follow up with Coach Adams and got Dino's number and sent him a text, after the injury happened, just because a lot of respect for that kid and how he played. And I haven't done a good job of following up, in the last couple of weeks to figure out exactly. But, everything I've been hearing just, again, through the grapevine, I don't have social media, but the things that I've been hearing from other people that have been checking in. And, I think he's fully intending to come back and play again and expects to make a full recovery. But as far as the timeline on it, pretty severe injury that he had. And, I've seen that injury before to some people over 30 years. Had a high school teammate that had a similar injury, that had to have the rods inserted and all. And I think obviously medicine and surgeries and things now are a lot more advanced. But I haven't really heard a definitive timeline on when they expect him to be back to 100%. But prayers to him and hopeful that kid gets to play football again.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, before I ever heard anything about the kind of athlete he was, it's always, dude, he's such a nice kid. And that's what you like about high school football, right?
Well, that's it. You want kids that love it and do everything the way they're supposed to in their school and lead.
Don't you think the coach has a lot to do with the way kids perform as far as practice and play and participate and lead? If they buy into the coach, it's not just a program. Because kids are going to go where they go to school, period, right? But they get out and play. We were talking to another coach at a local public school a few weeks ago, and he was saying he's having issues trying to get guys to come out of the halls to play again, right? And so don't you think that has a lot to do with it?
Well, there's so many options for kids today. I think one of the biggest things that schools face, and I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit off the wall, but if you take time and you think about it, a lot of issues that some people have that others don't have is directly related to success or a lack thereof at that particular school in that particular program. I hear a lot of coaches talk about the kids they got in the hallway that they want to get out. Well, first of all, football is one of those sports. If a kid's not willing to fully be committed to it, it's way too much work for somebody that you got to talk into coming out.
That's fair. That's fair.
There's some schools that have issues with people taking a year off and then wanting to come back. Well, what you don't realize is if you take your 9th grade year off because you're moving from middle school up to high school, then when you do come back as a 10th grader, you're really a 9th grader as far as high school football and how we practice and how you do things, experience,
Yeah.
The days are long gone, I think, of everybody going out there Monday through Thursday in full pads and scrimmaging and killing each other, and the 9th graders are just the guys that get beat up on. I mean,
Sure.
that did used to be that way.
Dang right.
I played as a 9th grader when you was on the scout team, offense, defense. Monday through Wednesday was for sure in pads, and if coach didn't like how it was, Monday through Wednesday, Thursday was in pads. And as a 9th grader, it was survival.
Yeah, sure.
So those days are long gone of where the 9th graders they come out and just get killed every day, 4 days a week, and never get to play. And if you're playing a B team schedule and you get to see development, that's why I try to always, the places I've worked, I try to tell those kids, don't take off your 9th grade year because we're still going to play a 6 to 8 game JV schedule on Monday nights. You may get in some varsity games if the situation dictates it. If you're a 9th grader and you're good enough to play, you're going to play. I don't care if the other guy's a senior.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, But taking a year off is a problem. And then, I hate to say it, but coaching turnover. There's a lot of places that are on their 5th coach in the last 10 years. And whether it's the school's decision or the coach's decision or whoever, forget all that. Not having some type of continuity that permeates from the middle school to the high school, the workouts in the off season, summer workouts, constantly changing. A lot of kids get disinterested in a new coach coming in and a new way of doing things, and so therefore they take a year off. Then after you take a year off, you turn 16, you get your driver's license, you start wanting to make a little money, you get a girlfriend, you want to be able to do a little bit of stuff here or there. And I think the interest a lot of times just wanes. And, those are all things that I miss about the simplicity of life and the number of choices that we had. I look back on my childhood and my raising, and I'm very thankful for the fact that it pretty much was go to school, go to church, play ball, and those were kind of your choices.
Sure.
And you ate with your family at nighttime. You sat down and ate supper together. You talked about the day. Nowadays, if you got a family of 4 or 5 and you're able to sit down once or twice a week and get everybody there at the same time, and nobody's got somewhere they got to be, then you consider it fortunate.
Yeah,
and so
that's true.
I think with all the different things, that's a really roundabout way of answering your question. But I think the problem of having kids walk in the halls is pretty evident in a lot of places because of all the other options and because of the success or lack of success. I'll say this. There's not many kids walking the hall at Piedmont that don't play football.
Right.
There's not many kids walking the hall right now at Cherokee County
Right.
that don't play football.
Right.
Because when the team has been successful, kids want to be a part of
Do you
that.
think that part of that is longevity
Yeah.
with the coaching staff? that's there?
Definitely is. As I say, it goes back, the people that are constantly changing coaches every 3 years, people don't understand. I say this all the time, and I'm really getting off on the psychological part of it, but I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I do read up on things that tries to work with motivation and building teams and things like that. Just about anybody you talk to will tell you that most people, 90% of how you're going to think is built by the time you're 15 or 16 years old. So let's just say, I'm going to put that into eligibility terms. By the time you're a sophomore, about 90% of your work ethic has already been developed and created in how you're going to work and how you're going to go about doing your business. Okay. All right? So a new coach comes in and he's got juniors and seniors that are past that threshold. And let's just say they're part of the 90% of the study group. Then most of the time, those guys are not wanting to hear what some new coach, slick talker, is going to be telling them about what we can do better in football because they've got their minds kind of made up on how things are supposed to be. And it's just like, yeah, we've heard all this before. A lot of times your people that are 13 and 14 that are in the 8th, 9th grade, they're interested in buying into something. They got no other choices. If their mom and daddy lets them go over to their girlfriend's house and watch a movie on Friday night, that's a big deal. They're not worried about going to the movies or going on a date or going to all the other stuff. So they're impressionable still.
Right.
And so if you just put common sense to it, if you've got those kids for 4 or 5 years, then they're much more apt to be buying into what you're trying to sell than an 18-year-old senior. And look, I've been very fortunate. My first 2 years at Westbrook, I love those kids that have been my juniors and seniors, and they've done everything that we've tried to ask them to do to be successful.
Right.
But realistically, last year, those guys that were in my first senior class, I mean, let's just think about it. Was I ever really their coach? I had them from the summer workouts and right into football season in the fall, and try to build that relationship the best way you could.
Mm-hmm.
But they got really 6 months of me.
Yeah.
They had 4 years prior of Coach Knowles, for their 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade years. I understand that. That didn't bother me, the fact, But was I ever really their coach?
Mm-hmm.
All I really was the guy that was on the sideline for their last game. I cherished the moments that I did have with those guys, but being able to build relationships with them versus just this year's seniors with a year and a half under your belt, and then next year's seniors with 2.5 years, and on down the road, the 7th graders when I first got there having 6 years with them.
Right.
The continuity, chemistry of the kids understanding, and that's why I get so discouraged when I see people changing coaches every three years, because you really hadn't had a chance to get a group all the way through to where you can form that relationship.
Well, that was like what you did when you were a kid. It's like what your guys in Piedmont did when they were playing Pee Wee football as a road runner. Jerry, who did you want to play for?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a Blue Devil.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a Blue Devil, and
Exactly.
and because if your coach is there for a long time, like yourself, you're already building these relationships with the Pee Wee program,
right.
with the middle school program. So by the
right.
time they get to you, you
That's
know
right.
the kids, you know their parents, you know their issues, their situations, whatever it is.
And that's exactly what we're doing right now at Westbrook. We started our own 5th and 6th grade team within just the kids at Westbrook this year, because my first year last year we had kids at Westbrook in 5th and 6th grade that played for 7 different Pee Wee teams because we didn't have one. It's
crazy.
And so we said, hey, my whole thing about Westbrook is let's try to grow the kids that we've got at our school and our program, and let's try to develop them and playing them together instead of them playing with 6 or 7 different Pee Wee programs. And then get them to the middle school program that's doing basically the same thing that we are, and having those kids growing up want to play on Friday night on that field at Jack Osborne Stadium. That's the kind of atmosphere that we're trying to create with our kids about, letting them see how it's done. And I've given them my word that if they'll keep me for a while, I'll be there for a while. I want to see it through and want to see how it all will work out in the end. Being Pee Wee heroes don't make you high school heroes. I get all that, but that Pee Wee team leading into your middle school leading into your high school, and your JV on Monday night, it all works together. We're all pulling for the same thing, and we're all trying to develop something that'll be sustainable, not just something that'll be a flash in the pan, 1 year, hit it and get type deal. We want to be something that's sustainable for many years to come.
And looking over, on a game night and seeing all these little kids and all these jerseys playing cup ball, whatever they're doing over there. That's part of the experience of high school football.
No doubt.
Love it.
That's old school right
That
there.
is old school.
Cup ball.
That's old
We
school.
all played it.
Yes,
No
we did.
doubt. That's good stuff.
wax cups.
Yeah, wax cups, brought them up.
Yeah.
A lot of fights over cup ball.
Hey, it was on. That was some competitive.
Hey,
it was
exactly.
competitive, no doubt about it.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some of your kids, and in this episode, Coach, let's talk a little bit more about your seniors.
Right.
Obviously, I don't know any good football team that doesn't have quality senior leadership.
Right.
The seniors may not be the stars, may not be the most talented. When it comes to leadership, you can be a senior leader and not be the superstar of your team.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about all 8 of our seniors. I'll start on the defensive side of the ball. We had 2 of our permanent captains on the defensive side of the ball. One was Max Legg, who was a defensive back for us. Max is an unbelievable young man. He'd probably be shy about me bragging on him, but I want to say, and if I'm wrong on it, I'll eat it. But I want to say Max just got a 35 on his ACT.
Heck yeah, man.
Unbelievable academic performance there by him. But a great leader, a captain this year. He was kind of our guy on the back end that tried to get everybody on the back end, the secondary lined up. Started for us last year. Also back there with him was Jackson Ramsey in the secondary. Jackson started last year for us, and this year Jackson, depending on which coach you ask, but Jackson Ramsey's right up there in the top 2 or 3 most improved players on our team. He did a great job for us this year. He had some very tough assignments within our region, trying to match up with 13 from Locust Fork, trying to match up with Allen Kidd from Weaver, Pinto and Bethel from Piedmont. Jackson did a really good job for us this year. When you play in the secondary, now I say this for Jackson and Max, we were very pleased with their play and their effort, but when you're on that back end, you can mess up on the D line, and you got linebackers and secondary people to correct your mistake. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you're that deep guy, that safety or whatever, and something happens over the top, then everybody in the stadium, even the mamas that don't like football, they scream and holler about what's he doing? What's he doing?
You're the one that
Cover,
gets
cover somebody. It's kind of like when the quarterback gets sacked. You always hear somebody that stands on a block line.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But those two boys did an outstanding job for us this year. I'm so proud of them. Also, an inside linebacker, Noah Wright. He was he was another one of our permanent team captains. But Noah was our thumper. He probably had several of the hardest hits of the year for us. Just a tremendous young man, a great football player. I think Noah's going to have a chance to play somewhere on the college level if that's what he chooses to do. But a really, really good player for us.
I know he had double-digit tackle for losses. I knew that. I read that somewhere.
A lot of plays behind the line of scrimmage, and that's from an inside linebacker position. That's tough, you know. But he did a great job for us. Had an outstanding season. Albert Aday was our only senior in our defensive line rotation. He played some nose guard for us. Albert's a great kid. He's one of the favorites on the team. Everybody loves Albert. It's hard to not love Albert. Great attitude.
Say his last name again.
Aday. A-D-A-Y.
So have a day.
So a long time I'd call him A-Day, you know, but then Aday I think is how you say it properly. But Albert's one of those guys that everybody just loves him. And then our other 4 seniors were all on our offensive line, 3 of which were 2-year starters: Cade Sanders, Eric Kirkpatrick, and Hudson Lowe. And then our 4th was Ian Shaw, who kind of moved to offensive line this year as a way to be able to give us some minutes and help us out. But those 4 guys, I said in the beginning of the year, a lot of our success this year would be determined by the improvement of our offensive line. And I really thought those guys all played really, really well. Eric Kirkpatrick's probably the headliner of the group just because he's 6'4", 300 pounds, and probably got a chance to play somewhere on the next level.
Yeah.
And then Cade Sanders and Hudson Lowe played tackles for us this year, and they're both coaches' kids. Both their dads are on our staff. You know, Brad Lowe's our defensive coordinator. Mark Sanders works with our offensive line. Very proud to have their dads helping, but both those dads are very proud, and I'm very proud of their sons for the job that they did for us as 2-year starters on the offensive line. Cade actually probably started 3 years, but I know all 3 of those guys, Eric, Cade, and Hudson, started both years that I was there. Just a lot of appreciation for the work that those guys put in, and again, all 8 of those guys that we've mentioned. You know, Ian played some linebacker for us last year, then some defensive end, then wound up moving to offensive line this year to help us out. All of those guys are tremendous people. They don't get any trouble at school. They're where they're supposed to be. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I had a couple of them that during homecoming week made a bonehead decision.
We've all been there, Coach.
They left a legacy there, maybe. But not anything I would advise for future classes to copy. But anyway.
They may have to patrol the ranch with a sledgehammer.
Really good people and great kids, and we're certainly going to miss all 8 of those seniors.
Well, you talk about that offensive line. You guys average almost 38 points a game. You don't do that if your offensive line's not playing good ball.
No doubt. And that was some of the things that, we had some games this year where we controlled the ball for like 32 of the 48 minutes, when the other team don't have the ball, it's difficult for them to score. Yeah. And a lot of that can be attributed to the development of our offensive line and just the mentality that they had of being able to stay in front of the chains and control the ball and possess the ball and shorten the games.
I think a lot of people don't know, if they're not around the program, on the outside looking in, you guys are heavy in freshmen and heavy in juniors.
Right.
And you got a lot of sophomores, but really heavy. You've got a lot of young guys.
No doubt.
So the future is not just, you improved this year from last year.
Right.
And you're climbing, but you got young guys on this team, man, that are coming up. The future's really bright, I think.
Well, the goal is for us to be able to continuously be on that upward trend, and then if you ever get to the top, you want to stay at the top.
Sure.
That's the goal. And I mentioned doing the youth league. Now, I do want to put a plug in tonight. Okay. Anybody that's available tonight, we have a charity event going on at our place to where we're bringing in 3 of the better teams in the surrounding area from the 5th and 6th grade Pee Wee League. So at 5 o'clock, Westbrook, our team will play Gadsden City. At 6 o'clock, Etowah and Pinson are going to play each other.
Heck yeah.
At 7, the 2 losers will play a third-place game, if you want to call it that. And at 8, the 2 winners will play. So we're going to do 4 8-minute running clock quarters with the last 2 minutes of each half being regulation time and doing it kind of a tournament-style type deal. All the A teams, and they'll all be – and I don't know everybody's record, but I think each of these teams were undefeated or were their divisional champion or whatever in theirs. And we weren't in a league, so we just kind of played an independent schedule on Tuesday nights. But we've got a pretty good little squad as well. So I would love to invite anybody that wants to come out. It's The benefit is for childhood cancer and kids in need.
Nice.
The Elise Reeves Foundation.
Yeah, we shared that
So
on-
you
we
probably
shared
share
it on
that, but
page. We did, yeah.
admission's either $10 or a $10 toy, a new
Wow.
unwrapped toy, and we want all the proceeds to be able to go to help that particular foundation.
Absolutely.
But we'd love to have anybody that wants to come out to Westbrook. Like I said, we'll start at 5:00 tonight. We just open up one gate, so you'll come in down at the field house in on the home side, but we'll have both sides of the bleachers and concessions and all open. But
Oh, so you would get that Steve Smith special this evening.
we got a home basketball
You get to
game
eat it
tonight.
tonight.
Well, we got a home basketball
Oh.
game tonight, so I think Miss Leah is
everywhere.
committed to doing the gymnasium concessions, but I think she's got a crew that's going to open up the concessions down at the football stadium. But just for a great cause and being able to help
Heck
people,
yeah.
and again for a really good 5th and 6th grade Pee Wee football teams out there.
Don't you think that the coaches, the head coaches for all those teams represented for the high school, should be working the chains? I think that's what you need to pay them back, guys. That's an idea.
Yeah.
Go.
I'll say this though, that can get pretty competitive. That chain crew, you have to kind of remain unbiased over there on the chains. It can get pretty
I've been
pretty
in some
intense.
games that I've seen them guys get mouthy, boy. It's sometimes it's better than the game.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're
Especially
playing.
when you got them home guys over on the visiting side, man.
Yeah.
It
How
is
about
like tough.
go
deal
to
for
the
some of them.
basketball game, pay your ticket, get in, just to get the concession and come watch at the football field.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
That'd be a good thing.
I'm gonna say. Hey, let's talk quarterbacks.
Yes, sir.
I know you don't like to talk quarterbacks, right? You don't know anything about playing, coaching. It's a position on the football team, coach. The
Yeah.
quarterback is, right? The competition, you have two high-quality quarterbacks this year. Your starter and your backup, however you want to label them.
Right.
Different players, and
Right.
we've talked about before that they both worked on what was the lesser of their skill.
Exactly.
Still very talented in both areas,
No
but
doubt.
one is better at running, one was better at passing. They both made strides in the other area. Let's talk about off season and talk about how competition
Right.
It don't stop, and you don't want it to stop.
No, I mean, but here's the thing. I view it a little bit differently. I don't view it necessarily as competition. I view it as both players trying to maximize their potential. And we're playing 3A high school ball. You're not going to have two of your better players on one of them on the sideline just because he's not the starter at a particular position.
Sure.
We mentioned Brody and Sam because they were the ones that played this year.
Yeah.
A 10th grader and a 9th grader, both of them extremely talented. Both of them bring things to the table that can make our team really successful. As you said, both of them working on the areas that might have been their lesser area to really improve, to be dual threat type guys. Both of them are really, really good at both aspects. But, I kind of got a quarterback in every grade that we got an 8th grader, be a 9th grader, Sam Legg, and he's special. We got a 7th grader, Sawyer Kroll, namesake, but he's special. We got a 6th grader or two in Will Hughes and Ridge Reeves. They're both going to be really good. We got a 5th grader in Luke Kroll that's going to be really good. So, my thing is, we want to win football games first, and it's any offense I've ever coached is a quarterback-friendly offense. Now, some of them have been more run-oriented, some of them have been more pass-oriented. Over the course of years, I was telling somebody, I think since 2015, I think the quarterback that I've had has been the 3A back of the year 5 or 6 times in that time. I've got kids that's record holders for passing yardage, total offense, touchdowns accounted for, most starts in a career at quarterback, kids that played Division I, whatever. But I just really like to take what we have as a quarterback, be able to mold them into what fits our system best, what fits the talent around them the best. We've got some guys that can catch the ball. We've got some guys in the backfield that can run the ball, those types of things, and trying to be able to utilize everybody at our disposal to be able to maximize the potential, of what we have for our team.
I'm going to interpret what he just said. He said, Brody, you're going to be running back next year. Sam, you're going to be wide receiver. We got a freshman. That's what.
There you go.
Hey, look.
If that makes you win, that's what you do. You don't care about.
At the end of the day, it may be really important to their folks
Yeah.
who plays what, but at the end of the day, I'm most concerned with what gets us the best chance to win at Westbrook Christian. I mean, if you go back and look at our final game last year, Bo Kilgo came in at quarterback and played the majority of the game, and threw 3 touchdown passes, I think. Maybe had a rushing touchdown.
I saw those highlights.
That was against White Plains last year in the 2023 season. And Bo Kilgo didn't take a snap at quarterback for us this year because our team was better
Sure.
with Bo Kilgo playing receiver. And, having that mentality of, Coach, I want to do what it takes for us to be good, that's something I really appreciate in kids. It's something I appreciate because what that does is it tells the team, I'm more about the team than I am about my own position, my stats, my college future, whatever it might be.
Sure.
I love players that are caring more about the team than they do themselves. And what you find is people that genuinely have that attitude
Yeah.
will not only help the team, but they'll get whatever's coming their way
Yeah.
because they trust the process. I can promise you, you go on to the next level, everybody at the next level was the best player on their high school team.
Sure.
And in a world of where transfer portal and people don't start their freshman year in college, they just want to pack up and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That stuff is trendish, and it will continue on. But the burn will start to fade on a lot of that stuff. And what you find is when you find a kid that's been at 3 different schools in 3 years, I kind of wonder and question that kid's competitiveness and whether or not he really wants to compete for a spot or if he wants something handed out. I
There you
mean,
go.
there's some of these college
something
quarterbacks.
wrong.
There's some of these
Sure.
college quarterbacks are at their 4th school in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Some of them didn't win a job at spring practice and then they leave again. I mean,
And
I'm
getting
sorry.
paid.
Yeah.
And then somehow they're getting paid.
Like the FSU quarterback, DJ Ugalea from Clemson. Then he went to
Oregon State.
now he's and he got millions of dollars.
And look, how good is Florida State?
Well, that's who Notre Dame plays this week. So
They're really good, right?
they're really good, coach. They're very talented. They have talented pieces.
Right.
They do. They have a roster with the talent to be able to come up and win.
Sure.
Ever since they didn't make the playoff and Georgia embarrassed
That's
them,
true.
they've just been in a tank.
No, that's 100%.
All those coaches that used
100%.
the Alabama opening to get them a new contract, I hope they got it fully guaranteed because
It's coming. It's coming. Last thing before we start talking a little Etowah County football, start
Yes, sir.
talking with the playoffs here.
Yes,
but,
sir.
how special is it really having? Not every school has the support of a Westbrook as far as administration
Right.
and people outside the program pushing. You've been to some great schools. You've
Right.
been lucky.
Right.
Blessed, let's say. You've
Yeah.
been to some good places. Not every school, not every system has that.
Exactly.
Let's finish the Westbrook talk today with talking about that. in
you
particular.
make a great point. I've got a lot of coaching buddies that are miserable because they're at places that they don't have support. They're at places to where people don't emphasize football or just athletics in general. I've been very fortunate. On 3 places I've worked, Cedar Bluff, Piedmont, and now at Westbrook, I've had tremendous support from administration, the principals, the assistant principals, the faculty, the superintendents. I've been very fortunate everywhere I've been that I've had that kind of support from those people, and they were on board with what we were trying to do. I can't say enough good things about Rachel Neal. She is, she's about that tall. She's about 5 foot tall, but she is a fire plug, and she's passionate about Westbrook Christian, the students at Westbrook Christian. Very supportive of all of our programs, and very supportive of what we're trying to implement, athletic department-wise. I'm very, very lucky to have that. Like I said, I had great principals every school I've worked at. I've talked in here before about Bobby Mintz, the principal my first year at Cedar Bluff, about giving me a second chance after a dismal rookie season as a head coach and doing some stupid stuff. But just appreciate him. And then as I moved on to Piedmont with Hugh McCorder and then Jerry Snow and Dr. Clemens, all the people that have been my direct bosses as far as my principals have been outstanding to work for. They've given us every opportunity to be successful. They supported us unconditionally through the good and the bad. And then, working with those faculties at those places and them buying into what we were trying to do, that it wasn't just football, or sports.
Yeah.
That we understood where our place was in the school, but we also appreciated that they reciprocated the support, for being behind us. That's very big because you don't want to be at a place to where you don't have the faculty and those people on your side because they think that you're just a coach and you don't care about what goes on at school. I love the everyday operations, what goes on at Westbrook. I love the atmosphere. I love the effort that those teachers pour into the kids. and it's cool kind of coming back full circle. I started out at a K through 12 at Cedar Bluff, and now being back at a K through 12 and watching the pre-K kids come through the gym or walking through the lunch line and just hearing them and them high-fiving, each other or me or the players as they come down the hall. That's a pretty cool thing to see on a daily basis. But very thankful for the administrative support that I've always had and currently have right now at Westbrook. And then you throw in the support of your booster clubs. I've been in 3 places, all of which had unified booster clubs that worked to support all sports and just got out and did whatever they had to do, whether it was concessions, fundraisers, anything and everything that they could do to be able to go out and supplement the athletic departments, because let's just face it, there's not a school out there that can afford and get everything that they want based just off of their income that's coming in from sports. And so having a proactive booster club that's willing to go out and spend sometimes a lot of dollars to improve your facilities, do things to help the kids, provide the things that are the extras, that's something that's just I can't thank those folks enough for what they do to help us in that regard. So support wise, man, I've got coaching buddies that don't have it that way, that are constantly fighting just for 5 minutes here or there to have a meeting, for a team. So
His last comment.
it's just it's a great situation.
I'm gonna let you read that one,
Maybe
Coach.
bias, I think.
Coach, read that one for Coach.
Just bias. We won't tell you who. You can probably take a guess. It says the middle school principal at Westbrook Christian School is hot.
Yeah, that was Brand.
I had to think about that, Brad. I'm not answering that one way or the other.
Last name
Jones.
Man, you say Brant Jones he's my stat guy, and he does an outstanding job, man.
Well, he's keeping stats of this show right now, Coach. He needs an answer.
Well, shout out to Brant for doing a great job keeping the stats.
That's something that gets overlooked.
No doubt. No,
That's a tough go.
Because you got newspaper folks that they're wanting to have write-ups and things, and you want to get your kids the recognition they deserve.
Sure.
Brant pretty much has our offensive stats and our special team stats computed by the time I get through talking to the team after a game. And so that just leaves me and the other coaches. We try to sit down as part of our Friday night post game and get the defensive stats recorded so that we can have all that. Now, a lot of the newspapers' publication deadlines, 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's very difficult to get anything to them by that. But, I think it's huge that you're able to get your stats done and get them in a timely fashion to everybody that needs it. And Brant does a wonderful job having our offense and our kicking game stuff done by the time I get out of the locker room.
From a broadcast standpoint, broadcasting game stats matter. It helps.
Right.
And the last few games I was doing, Craig Franklin gave me an app, so I can go in live during the game and get stats.
Right.
Game changer.
No doubt.
Absolute game changer from a broadcast standpoint to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So now let's, in the rest of the month, we're still going to talk Westbrook football, right?
No, that's good.
That's what we're
I'm
doing.
all good, man. I love football.
But we're going to talk Etowah County playoffs. And
Yes,
we
sir.
have 3 local teams in the playoffs still. Let's start in 4A. And, sometimes you get a home game. It doesn't mean, hey, we're playing a much lesser team.
Right.
Madison Academy is coming to the woodshed in Hoax Bluff. And that is a very, very good team. Just like Madison, just like Westbrook, they had two-game losing streaks.
Right.
But they found it. They're on like a 4 or 5 game winning streak,
Right.
and they're playing really good football. But
Right.
Coach Ryle's been there before.
Yep. Hey, in Madison Academy, that I've got a little background, obviously, with them playing them several times.
Yeah.
And then Coach Godsey, their coach up there, is one of my good friends. He was a retired coach. His last public job was at Hartselle. But, got a little bit of first-hand knowledge from seeing Hoax Bluff this year. I know Hoax Bluff got a little bitter taste in their mouth last year from the way that game ended. I think they went to Madison Academy in the first round last year in the 3A playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But that Hoax Bluff team is a team on a mission this year. I saw them up close and personal during our jamboree, and I love the way they play. They play physical, and I really believe that regardless of whether this game was played at Madison Academy or at Hoax Bluff, I think the Eagles are going to take this one.
Ooh, I like it. They're and you got some big thumpers on both sides of the ball here.
Right.
Hoax Bluff and Madison.
Madison Academy's got the linebacker, I think, that's committed to Mississippi State. His name slips me right now, but he's a really good player. I remember watching him last year in the championship game against Mobile Christian, and he's a specimen. But I just tell you, those guys in Hoax Bluff up front, from tackle to tackle, plus the tight end, Shields kid, the defensive front, linebackers, they're just so physical up there that I just think if Hoax Bluff can avoid turnovers and not give up the big play on the other side of the ball, I think Hoax Bluff takes this game. And again, all due respect to Coach Godsey, I know he's probably not watching Capel Media, but
don't be surprised, Coach.
Hey,
The reach is long.
Coach Godsey is my friend and all, but Coach Robb is also my friend, and I really believe Hoax Bluff is the better team in this matchup, and I fully expect Hoax Bluff to advance.
Well, but Tina Turner said, "What's love got to do with it? Nothing, right? Friendship ain't got nothing to do with it. This is about ball.
Right.
Facts.
Just about ball. Home field advantage is a real thing, though.
Yeah, no doubt. You'd like rather play there than go up to Madison, that's for sure. And Hoax Bluff, they got a great atmosphere. Their games, they got some neat. Hey, look, this is the thing, man. People get so easily offended because somebody says something or whatever. I think it's all in good natured fun, but I definitely want the Hoax Bluff people to buy out to bring back out the sign. I can't remember exactly what the sign was when I played there last year, but Jesus loves us for free or whatever. Hey, you want to create a home? You want to create a home? Hey, look, I give them props on that.
That was good. We brought it up here. We put it on the screen last year.
Hey, props to Hoax Bluff for coming up with that. Hey, you just gotta live with it. But
and it's living rent free in Coach's head right
now.
now.
Madison Academy, though, they don't have Christian on the name of it, but I think they are part of the Church of Christ there in Madison. So I think it's applicable to pull that sign back out and give it back to them,
Steve's calling for the sign. He's calling for the sign. That's good stuff. Now let's move up to, at the beginning of the season, if you take a poll, hey, who's going to be in the playoffs, who's not going to be in the playoffs? I don't know how many people predicted Southside to be as good as they are. Right. And they made a run, and you talk about someone who got a bad draw.
Right.
Cool. They got to go into Mountain Brook.
No doubt.
Oh, my. And we'll get to Gadsden City, but that is a tough game. But I think Ben Stewart did a great job of understanding what it is to be a head coach, right? Again, first year. What was your first year like being a head coach?
I done told you, my first year was dismal.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I used
what he's done and the backing he's got by the Southside administration, family, fans, and, it doesn't matter if they're winning 10 games or losing 10 games. They're going to pack it out. It's going to be loud.
But he's also blocked out that noise from outside the football stadium,
he has.
too.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And that was a very tough region.
Right.
And the fact going to Titan Stadium and getting that victory was huge.
I guess that determined 2 and 3, right?
It did.
The home field or traveling.
And I don't think either one of them. I think both of them lost as far as the playoffs go. As far as they got tough bracket.
Shout out, heck of a job to Coach Stewart for the job that he did as first year coach there. They had built a lot of positive momentum up, and I know it was kind of a crushing thing when Coach Holcomb left because he was so loved over there and the way that he had got that program kind of kick-started. But I thought Coach Stewart did a wonderful job of coming in. Didn't start out so great for him, but he held the rope. The kids held the rope, and he was able to get that thing turned around. They started winning some games and find themselves in the playoffs. Like I said, as you mentioned, it's not any kind of great reward to get to host Mountain Brook because Mountain Brook probably is the best number 3 seed in the playoffs. Coach Yeager there, is widely regarded as one of the best offensive line coaches, if not the best offensive line guy in the state of Alabama. And with Mountain Brook, you're going to get a team that doesn't make mistakes, and they're fundamentally sound, and they're gonna do everything the right way. They're not going to beat themselves, and so that should be a great matchup at Southside on Friday night.
The only common opponent this year was Pell City. You really can't look at that though, because last game of the season for Southside, Mountain Brook beat Pell City 41-14. You can't really look at that.
Circumstances definitely. When you play somebody, if all hands are on deck with your injury report. You cannot say, well, this team beat this team, and they beat this team, and this team beat this team, so this is how it should happen. I know somebody's got an algorithm with all the analytics. You always plug into that Alabama High School Football Historical Society, and they give a projection on what should happen. I don't think that's Mr. Parker necessarily just throwing a number out there.
Yeah.
That's probably through all those things.
Sure.
And I would imagine just because of that Mountain Brook would probably be the favorite in this game. Southside moving up to 6A. Mountain Brook was 7A just a couple of years ago. They fell back to 6A, and they've had a lot of success I guess this is year 3 in 6A. They went to state championship game, played Saraland 2 years ago,
Nobody wants to play Saraland.
and that was what, freshman? That was sophomore
sophomore.
Ryan Williams, and Mountain Brook. Played them tough in that state championship game until Ryan Williams took over. But
Miss Roden, Cole Garrett is a beast and doesn't get the credit he deserves at Southside. That kid's a ball player for sure. Very good ball player. Now you got me thinking. I looked over. Let's go ahead and talk about the Gadsden City game. Then we'll get to the predictions as far as the line on that.
right.
Oh, Ollie Smith's done a good job. He really has. And going on the road, I don't think it matters. I mean, those two teams are just both incredibly tough teams. And
They're going to Chalkville.
Clay
right?
Chalkville. Yeah, going to Clay Chalkville.
Well, actually, I mean, you're going to the defending 6A state champions and a team that knocked off Thompson earlier in the year. But I will say this about Gadsden City. I like to follow all the teams in the county around us and all. And they had an impressive win early in the year against Muscle Shoals.
They did.
Muscle
Shoals team did get the credit they
Muscle
deserve.
Shoals team is another team that in 6A North, somebody's going to get hot in 6A North and make a run. And I don't know that it necessarily will be Clay Chalkville because that's kind of who everybody expects. You got Oxford sitting over there going, what about us? We're 10-0. And Sam Adams, the job he's done at Oxford, I'm a big fan of him. But 6A North probably of the 16-team part of that bracket, 6A North might be the most difficult to navigate because I think there's 5 or 6 teams that legitimately could get hot and make a run to the championship game. We mentioned Oxford, Clay Chalkville, and Mountain Brook just out of that one region.
Yep.
But you still haven't mentioned Parker. In Parker, are they 6A North?
Thunder and Herbert.
They're 6A North as well, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about the two regions that's kind of matching up
Yeah.
and playing each other. Fort Payne's sitting over there going, don't forget about us.
They did win the region.
Fort Payne won the region.
They did,
And of all the teams in that region, Fort Payne would probably be the one that would be favored.
Sure.
But Pell City's sitting over there going, wait a minute here.
Sure.
Now, we took care of your number 2 team last week, again, with the circumstances the way that they were.
Yeah.
But I just think 6A North is so competitive that it wouldn't surprise me if somebody other than Clay Chalkville, they were kind of the rubber stamp at the beginning of the year, who's going to beat Clay Chalkville. Well, Oxford beat them in the regular season already. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's a team not named Clay Chalkville that makes it to
It's
the
also a
finals.
different coaching staff at Clay.
Right.
They lost a lot of that, and still got a loaded roster.
No doubt, their roster probably is as talented as anybody, 1A through 7A.
Let's look at the predictions here. What the line, if you will, on these 3 games. Here, we looked at it earlier in the week, but I forgot. So
Let me give you
Hokes
a
Bluff.
guess.
Yeah.
I would say probably by that line, Hokes Bluff should be a 7 to 10 point favorite.
They're 8-point favorite. 8-point
Pretty
favorite at
good
home.
guess.
Well, you've watched a game or two in your life, Coach. Let's go with Gadsden City.
The line based on the formulas is probably going to put Clay Chalkville at a 14-point favorite. I don't know, somewhere in that 14 to 18-point range.
17.
Yeah.
Mount Brook at Gadsden City. What do you think there?
At Southside.
I'm sorry, it's Southside. I say Gadsden City. Mount
Just
Brook at
based
Southside.
on putting it in there, it probably would have Mountain Brook as a 10 to 12-point favorite.
Mount Brook's an 18-point favorite.
Okay, a little bit higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I don't think Southside's getting the credit they deserve as
No.
far as their roster too.
No, Southside. Listen, here's the thing about Southside. Southside's got a line of scrimmage that can frustrate anybody.
Sure.
I don't know anything about Southside's offensive scheme. I don't know anything about their defensive scheme. But I told you, the thing about the Southside matchup for them is they're going to match up against another team whose bread and butter is their offensive and defensive front.
Right.
But I will say this. I would imagine Southside's offensive and defensive front can give them a chance against anybody.
I agree.
That may be one of those games, Southside Mountain, but maybe one of those games that's over with by 8:30.
Yeah, clock ain't stay. Run. Hey, Bobby Sims was exactly right. Coach Floyd is a heck of a good coach. Really good coach. Stuart Floyd, right? Stuart Floyd.
Come at Clay Chalkville.
Yeah, Clay.
Yeah, you got Coach Floyd that's the head coach at Trustful, and then I think his name is Stuart Floyd
Yeah,
that's at Clay Chalkville.
correct. It's confusing.
Right. Yeah.
It's confusing. So that's the 3 Etowah County teams, and man, I hope next year we can get all 10. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And I think our teams from our region, I want to give a well wishes to the teams from our region. Our
Sure.
region this year in 3A is matching up with what we call the Mountain region.
Mountain.
So you got Piedmont, our one, is hosting Collinsville. I got a lot of friends, both those places, obviously.
Defensive coordinator, Skylar Ray.
Yeah, and then Coach Willingham and I coached against Coach Willingham when I was at Cedar Bluff and he's at Collinsville. I think Coach Willingham's on his third stint maybe as the head coach at Collinsville. Just a Collinsville guy through and through.
Yeah.
They've got some talented guys. I think that game will be a little closer than most people think just because it's a 1-4. I think a lot of people automatically. But that region that our region's matching up with is really top heavy with 4 teams that were decidedly, better than the 4 teams at the bottom. Then our 2 this year, Locust Fork. Again, you talk about circumstances. They've had 4 or 5 weeks now to readjust to life without Dino, and obviously they were playing a little bit better toward the end. They struggled the first game without him, and but they seem to be playing a little bit better now here at the end. And they'll be hosting who? The 3? Is it Sylvania they're hosting?
Sylvania.
Sylvania is coming to Locust Fork, I think, or is it Geraldine?
No, it's Weaver at Sylvania this week. Yeah.
So Locust
and
Fork.
Geraldine at Locust Fork.
Yes, Geraldine is going to Locust Fork.
Right.
That's an interesting matchup because Locust Fork has other weapons outside of Dino. They've had to have some guys that stepped up. Geraldine, Michael Davis, the coach up there, he's one of the guys that I think is one of the top up-and-coming guys in this profession.
Oh, my God.
And
so nice to us.
Having them in our region last year and how hard they play, I think that'll be a really, really good matchup. That'd be a fun game to go watch. Our number 3 team would be Weaver going to Sylvania. Sylvania's got a really good bunch coming back. They got a tailback up there that's maybe not as well known as others. I think his name's Aiden Parman. I can't remember his last name, but I've personally witnessed him ever since he was a sophomore running up and down the field. And he's a really, really good player, and they've got some just good old strong, tough-willed guys. And so them hosting our number 3 Weaver, who may be playing as good a football as anybody in our region. Right here, the last 4 weeks, Weaver's been explosive, and I definitely think they've got 2 of the most explosive people in Class 3A in their quarterback, Caden Gooden, and wide out the older Allen, Keyshawn.
Yeah.
But they've got some other good complementary pieces, too. They're not just a 2-man show, but that should be a really interesting matchup. And then our 4, Ohatchee, going 2-5,
sorry about that.
At one time, you had 5 and other 5 when they were running the Ugly Eagle. They played each other a couple times, I think, playoff wise, and it was one of those games that was done by 8:30. But 5 is 5, and they
about a home field advantage,
and they expect to win. Ohatchee's got some guys that can give 5 some trouble with matchups. How that game transpires and whether or not it can stay, within reach early on. That would be the one game that I would say how the game starts, because Ohatchee has some weapons that can give 5 some problems. 5 obviously has the Anderson kid and Gibson and a couple other kids that are really, really good high school football players. And
Gibson's a baller.
Anderson's going to Clemson, but that's one of those games to where Ohatchee's got some guys out wide in the quarter. Here's the thing, plain and simple, make no bones about it. Ohatchee's got some guys that could probably give 5 some trouble in the passing game. 5's got some guys that if the quarterback's laying on his back, it don't matter how much I think if you want one matchup right there to see how that game's going to go, can 5 get pressure on the Ohatchee quarterback who throws the ball extremely well when he's got time? And can Ohatchee protect the passer enough to try to hurt 5, in the secondary? That's
It'll be one of those.
Yeah.
Lastly, before we get you out of here and let Jeff close it down, who's coming out of the North in 3A?
Man,
I told Jeff the other day. I think Piedmont. Piedmont would be my favorite.
Well, I think they would be a choice until somebody proves otherwise. But Mars Hill each and every year has been talked about. Last
Mars
year
Hill Bible College,
as you call it.
Mars Hill fell last year to Geraldine. You got Gordo over on the other side of the state. I've kind of kiddingly called you the Notre Dame of 3A ball. You got them. Winfield is over there as that region champion. Coach McKinney, I've long time competitor against Coach McKinney, and they've got a good bunch again.
Winfield's playing good ball too.
No doubt. You got 5, And then you got some of the number 2 teams in some of those
Sure.
regions. You know, a lot of people's like, well, Winfield got by Gordo in the regular season, but Gordo may be, you know, Gordo's dangerous. You got Lauderdale County as a number 2 team in the
Sure.
in the regional. Mars Hill, I think they were a quarterfinalist last year as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe Sylvania played them in the quarterfinals last year. And then you got the mountain teams outside of Fife. You know, Sylvania and Geraldine still. You know, in Geraldine, you got a team up there that has knocked off Fife a couple times in the last 4 or 5 years. You know, so I think probably more so than any other year. If you take the 8 games in the northern half of 3A, I definitely think the 1s and 2s from each region are in a position to possibly all advance. There might be a 3 that can beat a 2 this year on the road in the first round, but the 1s and 2s in all 3 of those regions, or all 4 of the regions, appear to be pretty strong. And then, you know, after that, when you get to round 3 and you start having the matchup of 2 potential region champions, then you start going to all the tiebreakers and who hosts and who don't. I think you start to see the home field set in a lot more.
I agree.
Round 3.
I agree with that.
I'm trying to get I'm a groundswell effort type guy to get to AHSA, because if you'll hear me out on it, I think it'll make sense. I would love to see the AHSA before the first round give the 1s and 2s, the teams that are supposed to be the hosts. I'd love to, at that playoff meeting, to see them give the 1s and 2s the option to go on the road for the first round only. And then follow all your other travel rules, because here's what happens so often. And I've been victimized by it before, and I've also benefited from it before. But most of the time, the 1s are going to beat the 4s. You may have, statewide, you may have 5 4s that beat a 1 overall in 96 plus 100 games. How many there are first round games in all 7 classes? You may have 4 or 5 times when a 4 beats a 1. But the 1's going to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to be at home.
Agreed.
95% of the time. I would say the split on a 3 beating a 2 is probably more 40%. You probably got a 60-40 split of 2s beating 3s. So here's what happens. The bracket, the way it's set up right now, if you're a 2 and you host it, there's no matter what wins the other, if you win as a 2, you're automatically on the road in the second round. Because if a 1 wins, you go in because he's the higher seed and he's on the bracket top or bottom. If the 4 was to pull an upset, you got to go to the 4 who's upset because they haven't traveled yet. If you're a 1, 40% of the time as a region champion, you're going on the road in round 2 because a 3 upsets a 2. Here's my case in point. In 2021 at Piedmont, we were 9-1, I think it was regular season, but we were in a 3-way tie for the region championship. Sachs, who we had beaten the regular season, won the tiebreaker. Since Sachs won the tiebreaker, Ohatchee had beaten us head to head, so they were second, we were third. First round, we go on the road to Sylvania, and that was when Sylvania was really coming into their own, getting ready to make a deep playoff run the next year, and we won as a 3. Well, automatically winning as a 3, and the 1 beat the 4. Another game, I hosted Lauderdale County in round 2. All right. Then, because I had traveled once and been home once, in round 3 we played Winfield, who was a region champion, 12-0. But they had played both their first 2 at home, and I hosted again. So as a 3, I actually was in a better position to host the later round games.
Yeah.
However, if you give the 1s and 2s the option of the first round playing home or away, and then just kept everything else the way it is right now, then I think you would see the advantages are they're not near. And then I wound up playing Sachs in the semifinals that year, who was in our own region, so we had to go there. They were the higher seed, but it was a 15-mile trip.
Yeah.
4 rounds of playoffs that year. I went to Sylvania in round 1, home to a region champion round 2, home to another region champion round 3, and then traveled 20 minutes down the road to Sachs in county for the semifinals. Versus times that I've had teams that were a 1 and a 3 upset a 2, and I had to drive to Deshler to play the second round.
No good way to get to Deshler.
No.
You know, I mean, that has happened, you know. So that would be a neat little tweak to get, because I don't think home field matters near as much in round 1. In those 2-3 games that could go
Sure.
either way, it certainly does. round 2 it definitely starts to play, and then by round 3 it is a huge advantage to be at home.
Sure. And the gate gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
You're all about the game.
All about the gate.
All about the
Because
gate.
it takes money to run a program.
Sure it does.
Right.
Let's be
Sure it
real.
does.
Hey, thank you so much, Coach. I'm looking forward
Yes,
to the rest of the month coming in talking some
Yes, sir.
football and stories and whatnot. So
Oh, yeah. Enjoy
Thanks
it.
again to our sponsors, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Grass King. Thank you, Choice Fabricator Incorporated. My sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you to Absolute Respiratory Care and everything that you guys do, and the wonderful city and mayor of Rainbow City, Mayor Joe Taylor, City Council, everybody there at the city of Rainbow City. We appreciate you guys, everything you do. Thank you, Coach, for being here.
Yes, sir.
You got a lot of people bragging about your fresh new haircut. There's several comments on there.
The
So-
haircut.